Hello, and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Linda, and I'm pleased to welcome all of you to Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube, live or later, and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uofva.org for all the details. Our message today comes from our minister, Reverend Cheryl Fair. And now, here's Reverend Cheryl.
Thank you, Linda, and welcome everyone who is with me in the Zoom room right now. So great to be able to come together with you on Sunday mornings, and all of you watching on YouTube, whether you're watching now or later, or whether you pick us up on Facebook sometime later. We are just pleased to have you as a part of the energy of Unity of Fredericksburg. Our broadcast date today is Sunday, March the 2nd. So welcome to the month of March. March was named after the Roman god of war, Mars. And the power of Mars was not seen as destructive by the ancient Romans because they actually honored conflict as a means of gaining lasting peace. So I'll actually have a little more on that later. It is a really busy time of year. I want to note that the month-long celebration of Ramadan has just begun, so you can wish your Muslim friends Ramadan Mubarak or Blessed Ramadan. And this week, in the week to come, features Ash Wednesday on March the 5th. And that, of course, marks the beginning of Lent, which is a season of the 40 days leading up to Easter. And as you may know, there are many spiritual practices and religious rituals that take place during Lent. So there are lots of ways to practice Lent. If you would like to follow the season of Lent in a unity kind of way, I suggest that you use the Unity booklet that has come out for the season of Lent. It's called In the Garden. And if you follow our newsletter, there's a link there in the newsletter so that you can get your free copy. You can download it or have them send it to you in the mail, or you can go directly to their website, which is unity.org. So March is also Women's History Month, and it features International Women's Day on March the 8th. And we have an in-person event on March the 8th that honors the wisdom of women in our midst. So we have a workshop with attorney Sylvia Clute, and it's called Justice as Love. So we're going to be looking at how we can shift the system of justice in our schools, our families, our community organizations, and our government to reflect the teachings of love. All of this, my friends, ties together with what we've been following this calendar year so far, the season for nonviolence. So this is based on the lives and work and philosophies of Mahatma Gandhi and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Both of them taught about the essential nature of love in our world and how we can create more of that and use love as a foundation. So here's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. "Where there is love, there is life." And he's also quoted, similar quote, a little bit different, "Where there is love, there is light." So Gandhi believed that nonviolence was the purest form of love in action. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King famously said, "Love is the greatest force in the universe." And he also said, "Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that." So we are talking about love today. My title is Coming Together in Love. And I want to start off with a couple of questions. First question for you, my friends. Would you like to live in a world created with and based on love? So I'm going to make an assumption, since I can't see all your faces, that your answer is yes, that you would love to live in a world created by and based on love. And there would be many people who are observing the world right now and everything that's happening and not feeling that love is what they're experiencing, right? So, our question here today is, what can we, what can you, what can I do on an individual level, at the level of our consciousness, to create a world based on love? So, the season for nonviolence, with this inspiration from Gandhi and Martin Luther King, is a reliable guide for us, my friends. So, one of the things that we've been offering as a part of the season for nonviolence is materials that you can follow on a daily basis with daily practices, right? So, in our newsletter, you can find a link to download a PDF from the Gandhi Institute that has the daily practice for each day of the season for nonviolence, and also on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook and Instagram. You will see daily memes created by Reverend Kelly Isola for the season for nonviolence. Just as a side note, I want everyone to know that Unity of Fredericksburg has committed a month's worth of our tithes, because we tithe every month, to Reverend Kelly Isla as a thanks for these materials that we are using on our social media. So some of you might already be following those. And in that case, I will be trying not to be redundant for you, but to be bringing in some other things today as we look at these daily practices. And if you haven't been, my friends, I hope that this will inspire you to plug in and start doing that. The season for nonviolence will keep going through this whole month. It ends on April the 4th. So I'm looking at the practices for the past week leading up to today. So the first practice that we're going to look at today is friendliness. So how can we help to create a world based on love by practicing friendliness, right? Now, this friendliness is a combination of how we show up in the world and how we view others, right? So last year in 2024, we had a theme of well-being, and each month we had a different focus. In June, our focus was community well-being, and we studied this book right here, See No Stranger, a memoir, manifesto, a memoir. I'm reading it backwards on my screen, so that's why I'm having trouble. A memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love by Valerie Kaur. And she had one essential teaching that she started out with that comes from the Sikh faith or Sikh faith that she grew up in, having to do with this kind of how we perceive other people. So from the Sikh faith, how they perceive other people is, you are a part of me I do not yet know. So remember that quote. You are a part of me I do not yet know. So as you consider practicing friendliness, remember that strangers are friends we haven't yet met, right? And each person that you come across, even if the vibe is really bugging you for some reason, has the potential to have a connection with you, for you to hear their story, them to hear your story. So see if you can step into a space of being an ambassador of love, even in your thoughts, that as you come across different people throughout your day, that how can you be creating more love in the world? Well, you can certainly be doing that with your mindset, right? Um, so here's a quote from Reverend Kelly Isola from the daily memes that have been showing up on social media. Today, I will view those I encounter as friends. So just ask yourself right now, when you're out in the world, at the store, on the road, whatever, do you view people that you don't know as potential friends? And are you willing to try? If you don't, are you willing to give that a try as you practice friendliness? So the next practice that was ours to do in the past week, respect. How can we create a world based on love by practicing respect? Now, respect is one of those words that is used in lots of different ways in the English language, right? So, and those of you who know me know that I like to look things up sometimes. Go, okay, exactly what do we mean? So, our use of this word respect today, I would suggest, is about recognizing the humanity and inherent divinity in all people. Just sit with that for a second. The humanity and inherent divinity of all people. So you might have a couple of people that pop up in your mind that go, not always easy, is it? It's not always easy. And we might find that our uh, discomfort with some people will show up in our language, right? That we will be, we're talking about the season for nonviolence, that there will be some violence in the language or the thoughts that we have about people that we don't like, or we don't like what they do, things like that. Here's a quote from Gandhi. Language is an exact reflection of the character and growth of its speakers. So the language that's coming up for you around someone that you don't like, that might give you an opportunity to reflect and maybe choose not to be using insults or name calling that so and so, because when it comes down to it, my friends, mudslinging is still mudslinging. Even if you're sure that you're on the side of right, you're still throwing mud if you're calling people names, right? Even in your mind. So observe your language this week. Notice the language you're using with yourself. So maybe this dynamic is happening just with you, right? When it's time to do something that you don't like to do, or you feel like you're not good enough or whatever, you might be calling yourself names, huh? So it could be happening with yourself. It could be thoughts, language that you are using around people you see out in the world, on the news, perhaps. Are you willing to practice this practice of respect by cleaning that up this week? Give it a try. It's an opportunity, right? All right. The next practice that we had this week in the season of nonviolence, generosity, right? How can we help to create a world based on love by practicing generosity? Now, there are so many ways that we can be giving in this world, right? So one of the popular teachings in Unity back in the 1980s featured a course called 4T, which I'm sure some folks in this room have taken 4T class. The 4Ts were, the first one is tithing, which is a kind of a formula for giving. And also we look at time, so giving time, talent, and treasure. So one of the opportunities we have is to ask, what can I give in this situation, in this moment, to create a world based on love? Another question you can ask yourself is, as you think about how you could step in a greater way into generosity is reflect on what's the most meaningful gift that you have received in your life. Was it something of a material nature or non-material? Was it just someone giving their time, someone giving a hug, someone saying something encouraging, so that you can get a sense of what you appreciated the most, and that can give you some idea of how you might be more giving. And ask yourself also, what is it that I share that feels really good when I'm doing it, that feels energizing when I do? It could be something as simple as I really try to hold the door for the next person coming in behind me. Maybe it's that, and it just feels like a little moment that spreads, that energy of love. Maybe it's that, maybe it's something bigger. So just think about that. One cute idea, uh, again from Reverend Kelly Isola in the meme that showed up this week, is create a gift certificate that you can give to someone. So a gift certificate, let's say for maybe babysitting or dog walking or delivering groceries, or perhaps someone who's a caregiver and you could offer to do an afternoon, an evening, a morning of respite care for them and care for their loved ones so that they can go for a walk or take a shower or whatever they need to do. So all of those are some creative ideas around stepping into generosity. All right. The next wonderful practice that we have here for the season of nonviolence. How can we help create a world based on love by practicing listening? Ah, how does it feel to truly listen with an open heart? Now, I know that we've had some conversations in the past about, perhaps you have someone in your family or your neighborhood or something who has a very different belief system than yours. So sometimes listening is easier than others, but we know that very often when we're in conversation, our brain is pretty busy setting up the next thing that we're going to say and thinking, oh, yeah, that relates to me in this way, that kind of thing. But how does it feel to really listen without interrupting another person, without giving advice or coaching or teaching, without automatically relating what the other person said to your own life? So I had a recent experience where we practiced this, and it was in a workshop taught by Sylvia Clute, who will be with Unity of Fredericksburg on March the 8th. This workshop was called Discovering Loving Kindness in Politics and Public Policy. So she presented it to address the kinds of things that have folks very stirred up right now. And it was a practice of reflective listening. And we were at a certain point, and she does this as a normal part of her workshop, so you can expect some of that for those of you who are able to attend. Um, and we split off into pairs at a certain point. And I wouldn't say that with the partner that I was with, there wasn't anything charged about what was being shared. She gave us a topic to work with, but it really, really takes some effort to be doing all those things, to be listening without planning how you're going to respond. Like if that other person's going first and you're going to go next, your brain go, what am I going to say? How am I going to, it's like to be in the moment and really pay attention. So this is an important practice. So with an intention of creating a world based on love, are you willing to give that a try, even with someone who has a very different belief system than you do? A person who might start preaching to you about this or that. Are you willing to just kind of allow the space to listen? Listening doesn't mean that you're condoning what they're saying. Um, this is just giving another person space to talk without changing the subject, and then taking the time to kind of summarize what you've heard and make an attempt to understand the essence of what their point of view is. So it's an opportunity, right? Okay. The next practice this past week that we had in the season for nonviolent was forgiveness. So, how can we help to create a world based on love by practicing forgiveness? Now, we know in our hearts how essential it is to forgive ourselves and to forgive others. This comes to us through scripture, through the teachings of Jesus, right? Here's Matthew 18, verses 21 and 22. Then Peter came and said to him, him being Jesus, Lord, if my brother or sister sins against me, how often should I forgive? As many as 7 times? Jesus said to him, Not 7 times, but I tell you, 77 times. And other versions, interpretations I've seen, like 70 times, 7 times. So basically, what he's doing is presenting a number that is infinite. How many times should you forgive? Just forgive. Here's a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. We must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. So remember, forgiveness can be something you give yourself or someone else. So one of the suggested practices is to write a letter of forgiveness. Now, this doesn't need to be anything that you're actually going to put in an email and send or put in an envelope and put in the mailbox, but just the practice of writing it. And maybe it's to yourself to forgive yourself for something. Maybe it's to someone else, but just the practice of writing the letter can help shift the energy for you around a certain topic. The next practice ties in neatly with this because the next practice is making amends. So, how can we help to create a world based on love by practicing making amends? Amends are reparation or compensation for injury you have caused. And again, that could be to yourself, that could be to others. So, one powerful example from Unity teachings is from Unity founder Myrtle Fillmore. And of course, the entire Unity movement came about because of her personal healing practice. And one of the first steps that she took and documented in her healing practice was that of making amends with herself, with her body, because she had spent so many years talking to her body about, because she believed what the adults had told her when she was growing up, that she was sickly, that she couldn't go out and play, that she had to, kind of protect her health all the time. And one of the first steps she took was to make amends with her body, to ask for forgiveness for holding those thoughts about her body. And instead of seeing her body as a wonderful expression of divinity that it was, and this was the first step that allowed her to come through to a phase of physical healing. So, sometimes we are able to sort of have some direct interaction. Like Myrtle was there, she was able to talk with her own consciousness, her own body, make a shift. But for some of us, we may be carrying regret about things that happened many years ago. Perhaps a person that we, interacted with is no longer alive. So we do have spiritual practices that can help us make amends, even kind of at the energy level, rather than face to face or in a letter or over coffee or something. And I just want to remind you that a practice that we explored back in the fall in a workshop, both online and in person, was the Hawaiian practice of Ho'oponopono. And this is a wonderful practice when you have those little moments of something bubbled up and you're like, oh, I regret that I was like that, to just use that practice. And it's a series of 4 statements. We can't go into the whole thing right now, right? Because that would take a couple of hours. But the simple practice of realigning that moment, the energy around that memory with the divine. So you're just saying, I'm sorry. And that is because I'm carrying these memories, I'm carrying this unhappiness around this. So you're saying to the divine, I'm sorry. That is not love, is it? So I'm sorry. Please forgive me. You shift your attention back to the divine and say, thank you. I love you. So that's a spiritual practice that we can use for making amends. Now we've got one more of the practices that brought us up to today. I think this is actually the practice for today. It is conflict resolution. I do want to make a side note for those of you who have been following it on the PDF and on social media. There are a couple places where they are different. So, and I think the one for today, I do believe the one on social media is different than conflict resolution. It only happens a couple of times, but I'm hoping you can just go with the flow and say, hey, it's a bonus. If you're following both, you have both. I'm going to focus on conflict resolution, which is in the PDF from the Gandhi Institute. So how can we help to create a world based on love by practicing conflict resolution? Well, these last couple of practices we've been talking about forgiveness, making amends. This is all the process of resolving conflict, right? It is really important for us as individuals to kind of be able to self reflect and get real with ourselves for how comfortable we are with conflict in general, right? One of the tools that I have found particularly helpful is the Enneagram. And the Enneagram is a tool for looking at how our personality operates and what we can learn from that. So, because our personality, our ego, our brain can have a certain pattern for how we show up around conflict. And those can be kind of summarized with the instinctual urges that you may have heard talked about: fight, flight, freeze, or please. So it's really important to get real with yourself and go, okay, what do I do when conflict comes up? Understand what your pattern is so that you can work on opening up to other opportunities, because there are plenty of cultures, plenty of individuals who are able to view conflict as creative energy, right? And energy that shows up like, oh, we've got this opinion over here, that opinion over there. What can we take from both of those and create a win-win situation? Um, so when practicing conflict resolution, I suggest you kind of look at your own pattern and see if you're willing to make a change, become more open to not being intimidated or pushing away or overly engaged in conflict, whatever your style is. If you can be open to something that can be based on love, right? So all of this is all the rich material that the season for nonviolence, or just a glimpse into all the rich material the season for nonviolence has provided us for the past week. All of these are healthy tools we can use in our personal effort to create a world built on love. So when you look out at that outer world and all the stuff happening out there, and ask, what is mine to do? What can I do about this? Making more love in the world is something you can do, my friends. You can do it. Let's do one more quote here from scripture, from Jesus, from the Gospel of John. I give you a new commandment: love one another. Just as I have loved you, you must also love one another. And that wasn't just the people that I like, the people that I want to hang out with, but can you find a space to practice love with anyone, everyone? Are you willing to give it a try, my friends? So we're going to take that question into our time of meditation here today. So I invite you to take a deep breath. Just settle into this current moment. Just feel the breath moving in and out of your body. Feel the body settled into the seat. And let's focus on the area of the body where the heart is, the heart space. In Unity teachings, we have the 12 powers, and the power of love is located right there in the heart space. And the color is a vibrant pink. And you have the power to express that love. So imagine kind of if you will, a pink bubble or a cloud or whatever it is that works for you. Imagine that you have the power to kind of like breathe that or blow that into all the situations. Imagine yourself kind of blowing all of the if you have a dandelion flower, and that the joy that maybe you had as a kid by blowing on that and seeing all of those little seed pods spread out into the world. You have the capacity to do that with love. So just imagine that right now. Kind of take a moment to sort of travel through your body and spread that love like you're sprinkling glitter. Start with the feet. Just give them some love. Moving up the legs, sprinkling love as you go. Oh, that bum knee, love it, my friends. Move up to the seat, that foundation of the body, that groundedness. Just breathe love into that space. And move on up through your torso, through the heart space, just spreading love as you go. Up through your shoulders, down through your arms, loving on it. Every last little fingernail, every joint, spreading the love. Continuing up through the neck, into your head, every single follicle of hair, all of these wonderful sensory organs that we carry. And take a deep dive into your mind, every single thought and belief and feeling and attitude. And as we move into a time of stillness together, I'd like for you to practice taking that expansive energy of love and imagine how it can be if you show up like an ambassador of love through every situation in your life. So let's move into the stillness now together. And as we begin to bring our focus back to the current moment, just imagine yourself as an ambassador of love as you practice friendliness and respect, generosity, listening, forgiveness, making amends, and resolving conflict. Just see yourself spreading the love all through your days, And let's close this time of meditation with an affirmation. I always like to put my hand right on my heart space when I say an affirmation, so it's grounded in my body. I actually have one hand kind of on my belly and one on my heart. So it's in my body, it's in my heart space. I'll say it once and then you can repeat it a couple times with me at home, okay? I build my world with love and I am grateful. Say it with me, friends. I build my world with love and I am grateful. One more time, give it a lot of energy, okay? I build my world with love and I am grateful. I am grateful, my friends, for you and for the opportunity to come together in love as we do every week. So that's it for me. And I am going to hit back to our friend Linda Laporte to finish out our broadcast section here.
Thanks for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org, to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation and support our ministry with your